This prisoner did only one thing every day, deliberately getting close to the prison guard and carefully observing the keys hanging at his waist. Then he would return to his cell and meticulously draw their outlines. He could not afford the slightest mistake. Every tiny detail had to be sketched dozens of times, all to replicate the exact shape of the key as closely as possible. After the guard finished inspecting the cells, the prisoner would strike a match and carefully study the keyhole of his cell door. Then he would press a sheet of paper gently against it and rub it back and forth with his hand until the outline of the keyhole appeared on the paper. But how could he learn what the inside looked like? The method was simple. Roll the paper into a thin tube and slowly insert it into the lock, then stir it around with a wooden stick. This way, the imprint of the internal structure was transferred onto the paper. He would then compare it with his sketches of the key. Although he now had drawings, that alone was far from enough to escape. He still needed to actually make a working key, and when his companions heard this, they laughed at him, saying a wooden key would snap instantly. But the man insisted that as long as he followed the grooves inside the keyhole, it wouldn't break. Seeing how serious he was, Mark had no choice but to agree. That very day, they happened to be assigned to the woodworking shop. The man quickly carved a rough model of the key's shape, which he would later refine and polish. To avoid the guard's suspicion, he hid the piece inside his water flask. Then he signaled his companions to distract the guards while he quickly covered the mouth of the bottle with a towel. The guard seemed to sense something and ordered everyone to line up for inspection, one by one checking each flask. When he got to the man's bottle, he tipped it upside down, but thanks to the towel's absorbency, the wooden model didn't fall out. The guard then shook it a couple of times. Seeing nothing inside, he handed it back. The man had successfully smuggled out the material he needed. Next came the delicate work of shaping it with a file, then assembling it with glue. At last, a wooden key was complete. Now it was time to test it. With anticipation, he slid the key into the lock. When he heard a sharp crack from inside, he knew it had worked. The lock turned. The cell door swung open, and he breathed in the air of freedom. From that day on, whenever he had the chance, the man would fix his eyes on the guard's keys again, memorizing their shapes. He needed to make dozens of keys to unlock all the cell doors in the prison. Under the cover of his companions, he kept testing. He always carried a file with him, ready to make adjustments on the spot. But then, an accident occurred. One key got stuck inside the lock. Worse still, at that very moment, a guard came by to check the cells. The prisoner tried scraping out the wood chips, frantically chiseling at the keyhole. Just then, the overweight guard approached. The man quickly pretended to be cleaning, acting as if nothing was wrong. Luckily, the guard, exhausted from climbing the stairs, didn't bother to check the cell and went back to rest. Taking advantage of the moment, the prisoner hammered the lock back into place, barely escaping disaster. But when another guard later came to shut the cell door, he noticed it wouldn't close properly. Clearly, someone had tampered with it. Yet after looking around and finding nothing suspicious, he assumed it was just the overweight guard who hadn't shut it properly.